Greetings, students. This is Mr. Armin again. Today's lesson, I'm going to try to make your life a little more livable with this research project by giving you a hack that will make documenting your research a little easier. If you've seen the comments I've posted so far as in your research paper drafts, you notice I keep on saying document your research. Don't plagiarize. Document your research. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by documenting your research is that you can show to your reader and to me, your instructor, that you use good sources in your paper and where did you get that information and that you used it responsibly. So you need to do all those things, and documenting your research will help you do that. That is the way that formal research shows where the information came from and that it is in fact credible. I can judge for myself where you got your information and whether I should trust you, whether you are a trustworthy person. Again, this goes back all the way back to when we talked about ethos, pathos, and logos, right? And remember I said ethos is about you as the writer being someone who's trustworthy and credible. And one of the ways in research you do that is by showing where you got your information, and that information and those sources should be credible. Now, I've talked about the CRAP test and how that affects, your research and finding good sources that you can trust, so that when you use information responsibly, your reader can trust you. So, I'm going to show you how to show you how to hack and set up your paper using the MLA form of research. And you're probably wondering, what is MLA? In the previous post, I showed you how to set up a MLA template research paper document. And basically what MLA stands for is Modern Language Association. So basically a bunch of professionals who work in the arts and humanities decide on a style of how research and formal papers should be set up. And so that way it's uniform and everybody knows how to look at a research paper. Different disciplines have different styles, and all you need to know is that the style we're going to be using is the MLA format. So I'm going to show you how to hack and make this documentation as painless as possible. Because I know a lot of students this may be your first attempt at documenting research in a paper, and you may be totally clueless. Well, that's okay, but I'm going to give you a clue, and hopefully it's one that will make it easier for you than to try to do this from scratch. Okay. So, first of all, I need to start with a source. And I've got a couple sources. I'm going to show you basically a typical source. This is, as you can see on my screen, I've got an article about the death of Joan of Arc, which is, of course, my research topic, is Joan of Arc. And there's, if we look at this page carefully, we can see a few things about this source. Again, I did crap test it. It is a credible source. It is from a news media outlet known as The Guardian. Is actually, I believe, a British newspaper. So I know about this newspaper, but we can see that right at the top of the screen here. That's where their banner is. That is not the web address. And don't confuse the two. The web page name is The Guardian. Or sorry, the website name. Sorry. The website name is The Guardian. The web address, or URL, is actually this thing at the top here that starts with www or https. This is the web address. Both of these things we need to document our research. In addition, we need a few other things. So not just the address, we need the web page name, or website name, sorry. There's a difference. Site is the overall place on the internet we went to. The page is actually just the one part of the website. And here's the web page, or the article title. Solved at last, the burning mystery of Joan of Arc. The other thing I can know about this article is who wrote it. And the answer is Alex Duval Smith. And when did he write it, this Alex Duval Smith? Well, he wrote it Saturday, December 16th, 2006. Now, I don't need to, for my research documentation, I don't need to be accurate down to the minute, but I do need to know the day, the month, and the year. And actually, the cool thing about this one, because it is European, they have it in the European format. Notice that the day the month and the year comes in that order, not December 16th, 2016, which is the Americanized version of how we format our dates. Something to keep in mind. MLA uses a European style dating system. But I know these things. I can see this information and use it later to my advantage. So how am I going to use this to my advantage? How do I create an MLA documentation that I can put in my research paper easily? Because, I mean, I did take all notes from this, and I put in my notes, and I put my source information in my notes. How am I going to get that information into my paper? Well, a couple ways. Well, first of all, I'm just gonna copy this web address out of here, and then I'm going to go to a website called EasyBib.com. Like easy as in not hard, and bib like, you know, a baby's bib. But it's bib in this case is not short for the little thing that a baby wears to keep himself clean when he's eating. It refers to bibliography. So what I can do here is when I'm in this website, you can see that I can use MLA for free. And it gives me some options here at the top. I've got website, book, video, film, journal, database, and actually got other different types of sources. So I just got to select the tab that most effectively describes the source I'm going to use. In this case, it was a website. You saw me copy and paste a web address from a website. And what I can do, this can be very simple, is I'm going to paste that web address into this search box. And then I'm going to click on Cite It. Give it a second. And it's going to tell me it's gathering information. Alright, give it a second. There we go. Now sometimes it can find the information and sometimes it cannot. In this case it did not find the information. So I'm going to go ahead and find a web page that does find the information. We'll go backtrack. And then we're going to go over to, there we go. Here's the history.com channel. Oh, there we go. Oh, I don't know why it didn't. Sometimes it's a little slow. As you can see here, okay, it found the information the second time I did it. So, go back to my original web page. I'm sorry about that. Okay, I told you that this is from The Guardian, the newspaper, and the title is called Solved at Last. The author's name is Alex Duval Smith. If I go back to EasyBib, notice that yep, that's the website title. That's the article. Yep. It's published by Guardian's News and Media. It was published on December 16th, 2006. Also, it includes the date I accessed it, which is important. With a website, it is important to note what day I accessed it, because let's say you were doing a paper on, let's say, the earthquakes in Japan. And a couple days ago, the report said that 3 people had died from the earthquakes. Well, if you look at that same article today, they may have updated for new information. Maybe today they found out that 30 people actually died. So, and maybe tomorrow they'll find maybe there was 10 bodies that were trapped under the wreckage, and they find 10 more, and the death toll rises, right? So data changes, and websites, they can immediately change that information to match reality. And so that's why date of access is important. And as you can see here, there's the author. So it actually found that all for me. So now I'm just going to go ahead and check on the final step. As you can see, it's going to have a form, and everything is filled out for me. The only thing I have to do is make sure that it is correctly filled out. If it looks correct, then I'm good. The one thing I'm going to change here is it in MLA style. They do have the title needs to be capitalized. Okay, there we go. Sometimes it doesn't capitalize the titles very well, but that's okay. You can just go through here and just capitalize the words that need to be capitalized. Make sure that the first name is in the first name box and the last name is in the last name box. And looks good. The other thing that we want to make sure is checked is the display URL. Yes. MLA makes the URL optional, but I think most professors or teachers you'll talk to will want you to include the web address. So just make sure this box is clicked on yes. It should be, but if it's not, just check yes. Alright, so then once I've checked this form, made sure it's all filled out correctly, then I'm going to click Create Citation. I'm going to give it a few seconds. Depending on my connection with the internet, it may take a little longer. While I'm waiting for it, let's see if I can hide that. Alright, now we've got it. It took a little longer than I anticipated, but not a terrible long time. As you can see here, now I've got a citation. This is what we call a works cited entry. This is going to go into my research paper at the last page. The last page is called the works cited page, and that's where you're going to list all the sources that you used in your paper. That's where this is going to go. But the cool thing about it is I don't have to worry about, is the author name in there correctly? Is it the first thing? You know, notice it's last name first. And is the title properly? Does it in quotes? Is the name of the publisher in italics like it's supposed to be? Is the date in the correct European format? All that stuff is already formatted for me as long as I make sure that I filled out the form. And you can see it was pretty simple. All I did was I put in the URL of the website. It found all the information for me. I just double checked to make sure that the form was filled out correctly. Hits Create Citation, and it's done. Boom. That's it, dudes. Yeah. Okay, so I got one citation. Of course, I'm going to be using other sources. And you may ask, okay, well then, what do I do if I have a book? So let's go back and let's take a look at a book real quickly. As you can see here, I've got a book. Joan of Arc, A Life Transfigured by Katherine Harrison. And again, I've crap tested this book. She is a legit historian and writer, so I can use her book. So those are the two pieces of information, the title and the author, usually on the front cover. If not, I would kind of wonder what happened to the cover. The other thing that you'll want to look at is flip to the, if you have a physical copy of the book versus an electronic copy, flip to the inside page, right before the first page of text, but usually after like the first or second page, there is a copyright page. This tells you when this book was published, 2014. Also, I can scroll down here that it was published by Anchor Books, Penguin Random House, basically. So that gives me a couple other pieces of valuable information. The other thing it gives me is the ebook ISBN, or if I use the hard copy, it gives me the trade paperback version ISBN number. What is an ISBN number? Well, basically, it's sort of like a social security number or an SSID number for a book. Basically, if you type in this number, it will not only give you the book information, the actual book, but it actually will take you to the exact edition of the book that's used. That's important because sometimes books are published several times. It gets edited and maybe published again, maybe a second printing, a third printing, and sometimes the editors or authors will add chapters, delete chapters. Sometimes things change. Sometimes just the page numbers change. So to help your reader find your information more easily, you have to be able to identify not only the book that you use from the title and author, but you have to be able to identify which edition of the book you used in case there were multiple editions. The ISBN number is a great way to do that. And how do I use it in EasyBib? Well, I'm going to come back here. I'm going to click on the book tab. And there's two ways I can do. Notice it says cite book by searching by title, which I can do. I can just type in Joan of Arc, A Life Transfigured. So I can copy and paste that. But if I'm feeling really frisky, I can copy out this ebook ISBN number. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quickly. So I'm just going to go type in 978-0- oops, 385 dash 53122 dash 1. Okay, so that's the ISBN number. I'm going to go ahead and click on Cite, see if it comes up with the information. And again, it may take me a few minutes. Oh, no, this one popped up real fast. Joan of Arc, A Life Transfigured. Yep, that's it. That's the one I want. So I'm going to hit Cite this. Give it a second. All right. And the computer's a little, the EasyBib is asking me a question. Is this an ebook online, or was it on a database, or am I using the print copy? And the answer to that question is, in this case, I'm using the Google Books version, which is an ebook. So I'm just going to go hit ebook online and make sure, okay, yeah, again, it didn't capitalize the title correctly, so I'll just fix that up. Oh, yeah, it didn't put in the publisher, but I can get that really quickly. That was, what did I say it was? Anchor Books. And I'll need the city. It was published, and not surprisingly, it's published in New York. About 90% of book publishers are located in New York, so not a big surprise there. And I believe it was 2014, right? Yep, 2014, okay. Website title, in this case it was Google Books. And I do need the URL, which I can pull off really quickly. Either I can come up here, if I'm using Google Books, by the way, I can either come up here and copy this out of the top here, or I can click on this little link thingy, and I'm gonna pull out this link from here, paste it in here. I don't know when it was electronically published. Sometimes I don't know the information, and the reason why I couldn't find the information is it didn't exist. So I'm just going to leave that alone. But I'm going to put today's date. I can just click on the link that says today, and it automatically fills it for me. And I'm going to hit Create Citation. See what happens. Hey, hey, hey. And there we go. Now I've got two different... Well, actually, I've got some other things here. And you see, it's keeping a tally of all the sources I've entered in EasyBib. Really nice, right? Why is that important? Because later on, I can click on Export, and I can print this as a Word document, or I can save it to Google Docs, or if I'm using OneDrive, I could do that, or I can just simply copy and paste it into whatever document I want, whether I'm using Mac or PC, or if I'm using Word, or if I'm using WordPerfect, or some other word processing program, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to print Word document because I have my Microsoft Word open already. So I'm going to go do that. Boom. Yes, please. Download an MSS Word, and I'm going to hit OK, open. Give it a second. Boom. There we go. The other thing that's really nice about this, notice how the indenting is kind of funky. That's intentional. Word Cited in MLA format is supposed to be this way. It's supposed to have the entries start off with the first line is not indented, but all the other lines are indented. So if it looks weird, that's the way it's supposed to look like. Also, you'll notice that it is in 12-point Times New Roman. This may or may not match the font you have already, but if it doesn't, if you have Arial set, for example, I can just highlight this and change it to Arial. If that works for you, but I like Times New Roman. That's just my personal preference. Of the two fonts that are standard MLA format, this is the one I prefer. Just, I don't know. You know, if you want to humor me, just make it all 12-point Times New Roman. But that's how you do it up here. So there you have it. There's half of my documentation already done for me. If you notice, I've only been doing this for less than 20 minutes, and I've gotten basically my works cited page figured out, right? Just 2 sources in less than 20 minutes. Painless, right? You guys can do this. This is not like rocket science. All right, and then I can save it, or I can copy and paste it into my research paper. So I'm just going to call this research. Well, if I can type, I'm going to call it research works cited. Boom, there we go. I'm done. Well, no, I'm not really done, because there's 1/2 of my documentation that's missing. I'm going to go back into EasyBib. And I have to go back into to where I came from. I'm going to view my bibliography again. Alright, so there it is again. I need what's known as in-text or parenthetical citations. And why do I need in-text or parenthetical citations? Well, if you remember from when I talked about documenting research and keeping good notes, every time you use somebody else's ideas, whether it's a fact that's not part of common knowledge, whether it's a direct quote that you directly quoted, you're going to have to tell the reader that is not your idea, that you're borrowing it, and where did that come from? That's why you need a parenthetical citation. And pretty simply, I can grab those from each of my sources by clicking on parenthetical. Ah, only offers in Pro. Okay, never mind. It used to be that I could get these easily from the free version, but they're gonna make me pay for it now, huh? Cute. All right. Well, here's how I do it. Simple. If I go back to my works cited page, what goes into the parenthetical citation is usually the first item on the list. So if I were citing this source as one of my, in my paper, let's go back up here and say, let's say I'm in my research paper. Okay, so let's say I type in, according to historical records, Joan was imprisoned in Rouen from May to September 1429. That's a fact that probably is not known by the public. It's not part of common knowledge. Ask if somebody, walking down the street, they wouldn't know this. So that's a fact I borrowed from a source. I wasn't there in 1429, so how would I know? So I need to cite that with an in-text citation. So I'm going to move my cursor right inside the period, and since I borrowed it from Catherine Harrison's book on page 53, that's where this information was. All I have to do is put in Harrison, and then the page number, if it applies. If it's a website, obviously you don't have the page number. And there it is. That is in-text citation. That goes actually in my essay, where at the spot of the fact, where it is, at the end of the sentence, but before the period. Okay, so what does this tell the reader? If they're reading my essay and they want to know where did this fact come from, all they have to do is look at this. They see Harrison 53. They flip to the back of my essay. They find Harrison in my works cited entry. And now they found the URL. They found when it was published. And now they can go to the precise page in the exact book that I used to find my information. And they go, yep, I used it correctly, and now they can use it. You have to think about research documentation in the same sense that you are thinking about research documentation in the sources you're using. When you're craft testing sources, one of the things you were craft testing for was, do they show you where their information came from? That tells you whether they can be trusted. You, as a writer, need your reader to trust you. So therefore, you have to hold yourself to the same level of accountability as those other writers that you held to accountability. And that means documenting research and making it useful for the reader, because now that's really easy to find information. All I have to do now is go to that website or where the book is located online, flip to page 53, scroll down, and I can find it within 5 minutes. 5 minutes. If I don't have any of this information, if I don't have the in-text citation, if I only have Harrison, then what do I have to do? I've got to go through all these sources to find one piece of information. And even if I could find that it's in Harrison, if I don't know what page number it's on, that book is like 500 pages long. I'm not going to read the whole book just to find one fact. Why are you making it so hard on me? So this is to make it easier on your reader. Hopefully this hack makes it a little easier. This is one way to do it. There are other ways that I will share with you in later sessions. But I would use EasyBib. Students seem to like it. It makes it very simple. And I think you could probably do if you've got your sources already lined up, you should be able to do a whole works cited page and parenthetical citations in less than an hour. It shouldn't take you that long. As you can see, I did this in less than half an hour, and so it was very easy. In the meantime, if you have questions, if you need help with using EasyBib or figuring out what a works cited page is, or if you've got a particularly difficult source that you don't know how to cite, let me know. I'm always game for a challenge. So I know that EasyBib is great. It'll hit about 99% of the sources you'll use. But there's always a source that kind of falls between the cracks. Let me know what you got. All right, well, thank you very much. Hopefully I'll be back sometime next week. But keep watching for these video lessons, and because I'll continue to add more nuggets of wisdom, more hacks, to hopefully make this research process go smoother and be easier for you. All right, talk to you later.